Today, there is one particular narrative that I want to share with you all. With the Old Breed is a first-person recount known as a memoir of the author's experiences fighting in World War II and was published in 1981. Eugene B. Sledge was a private, later a corporal, in the U.S. Marine Corps, and he fought in the islands of Okinawa and Peleliu throughout the duration of the Pacific Campaign against the Empire of Japan. The book was originally intended as a way of sharing his experiences with the rest of his family, after much coaxing. However, after some consideration and persuasion by his family, he decided to edit and re-release his story so that the rest of the world could share in his experiences as well. After the war, E.B. Sledge became an assistant professor of biology at Alabama College, now known as the University of Montevallo, after his return, and remained so until his death on March 3, 2001. Sledge uses simple yet resounding and powerful language to describe every single aspect of the war, many of which traditional novels and films do not depict or show. There are several excerpts from this extensive memoir that I will read to you today, each of which captures an aspect of Sledge's arduous tenure as a U.S. Marine. To the non-combatants and those in the periphery of action, the war meant only boredom or occasional excitement. But to those who entered the meat grinder itself, the war was neither a world of horror from which escape seemed less and less likely as casualties mounted and the fighting dragged on and on. Time had no meaning, life had no meaning. The fierce struggles for survival in the abyss of Peleliu eroded the veneer of civilization and made savages of us all. We existed in an environment totally incomprehensible to the men behind the lines, to service troops and civilians. As a Company K rifleman and I talked, I noticed a fellow Mortarman sitting next to me. He had a handful of coral pebbles in his left hand, and with his right he idly tossed them into the open skull of a Japanese machine gunner. Each time his pitch was true, I heard a little splash of rainwater in the ghastly receptacle. My buddy tossed the coral chunks as casually as a boy casting pebbles into a puddle on some muddy road back home. There was nothing malicious in his action. The war had so brutalized us that it was beyond belief. As I struggled upward onto the boat with my load of equipment, I felt like a weary insect climbing a vine. But at last I was up out of the abyss of Peleliu. I stowed my gear on the rack and went topside. The salt air was delicious to breathe. What a luxury to inhale long, deep breaths of fresh, clean air that wasn't heavy with the fetid stench of death. But something in me died at Peleliu. Perhaps it was a childish innocence that accepted as faith the claim that man is basically good. Perhaps I lost the faith in politicians in high places, which do not have to endure war's savagery, will ever stop blundering and sending others to endure it. By twos and threes, the Company K men forming the front line eased onto a barren, muddy, shell-torn ridge named Half Moon Hill, and into the foxholes of the company we were relieving. It was the most ghastly corner of hell I'd ever witnessed. The place was choked with the putrefaction of death, decay, and destruction. In a shallow defile to our right lay about 20 dead Marines, each on a stretcher and covered to his ankles with a poncho. But as I looked out, I saw that other Marine dead couldn't be tended properly. Every crater was half full of water, and many of them held a Marine. The bodies lay pathetically just as they'd been killed, half submerged in muck and water, rusting weapons still in hand. Everywhere lay Japanese corpses killed in the fighting. Swarms of big flies hovered above them. For several feet around every corpse, maggots crawled about in the muck. I believed we had been flung into hell's own cesspool.